I didn't realize. I probably should have shaken it up a little bit
Cheers,
before.
man.
Wow.
Abracadabra.
It's not terrible,
It's pretty good.
but it's definitely
It's got
some
venom.
kick.
It's got venom.
Yeah. Oh man, you ready to jump into this?
I'm ready for it.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech Tuesday, episode 12. And by no means is this episode sponsored by Monster, but
It is a necessity.
it is a
today.
necessity today. It is a beautiful, beautiful fall morning. Is it morning? Is it afternoon? I don't really know.
Is it still fall?
It's something today, and we're shooting Tech Tuesday. We hope you enjoyed this Tuesday whenever you're watching this. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going back to the retro days. We're not going to YouTube or Facebook, but instead doing something that was recommended to us by our customer service team is to answer some, what would you call them? Pretty regularly asked questions.
Yeah, really common questions. We get a lot on a daily basis, and me being in tech, I get those questions because I get them asked, and a lot of them are kind of on repeat. So we just pulled from that stack of stuff that's commonly asked, and we'll just comb right through it.
So we'll just call this episode Customer Service Commonly Asked Questions.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, we'll jump into it. We won't waste any time. We won't waste your time. We'll go. But reason why I say retro is because we're using the handy-dandy Post-it note. See, back in the day, they used paper.
Gather round, children. Let me tell you the tale of the landline.
Before the comment section on social media.
When your modems used to make noise.
What's a modem? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not that young.
Yeah, you are.
I'm 22 years old. I turned 23 this month.
Says the fetus.
I might be old in comparison to the car industry, but young in comparison to the car industry, but EFI is my place. You probably were around when EFI was born.
Yeah. I used,
Born.
Kinda. I was born in that area because there was some really old archaic stuff. Like I was born in '84, and then it was kind of a thing, and it started becoming.
You're born in '84? What am I talking about?
Born in '84, man. I'm still young. I'm an elder millennial. Dude.
Yeah. What are we talking about? You're totally fine. All right, we'll jump right into it.
A lot of customers call in and ask about, does this system need to be run with a return line? If you're using our fuel system that we offer, yeah, return line regulator, all that stuff. Now, we've already covered this once before, but it is still a commonly asked question of the fuel system.
Yeah.
My favorite is the in-tank pre-regulated single line out to the throttle body with the filter situation where it's at 58 PSI. You can go in the handheld and adjust it for 58 PSI, not a big deal. Our system uses an inline pump, so it needs a regulator. You can run it from the pump to the throttle body to the regulator, dial it back accordingly, and send it back to the tank. Or you can get it in a bypass return style regulator where it goes from the pump to the regulator where the return line is back to the tank, and then a single out that deadheads into the throttle body. So that kind of sums it up. But yeah, that's the common thing. Do I need a return line? The 99% question answer on that right there is going to be a yeah. Yeah, you usually need a return line. It needs to be, if you got a 3/8 supply line, you need at least a 5/16 return line. You can't put it in a 1/4 inch. It makes a bunch of restrictions. If you put it in the vent valve on a lot of factory tanks, the rollover valve, you're going to run into a lot of resistance there too. So you need to make sure that even though it's a nice 3/8 rollover valve for the vent, you need to probably remove that thing, because if you're going to use that as a return, you need to make sure it's not restricted. Otherwise, it'll just throw your fuel off, and then you'll call me, and I'll tell you that it's probably restricted. That's
So usually when people are switching to EFI, they're looking for some kind of base improvement from a carburetor, or if they have some standard EFI that might be older, may not be really tuned at all, maybe it's factory, who knows. Usually they're looking for something more in the fuel efficiency realm when they switch to an aftermarket EFI system like Aces. And what I can say is, for the most part, you get better fuel efficiency and sometimes even more power based on that efficiency. But as far as how to get the most out of it from self-learning or even tuning it on the advanced tuning software, that is a little bit out of my range.
A lot of the fuel efficiency starts at the right foot, weirdly enough. In my experience, you can switch to electronic fuel injection from a carbureted setup, tune it appropriately, and get more power or more fuel economy, better torque, better idle characteristics, better top end, all kinds of wonderful things. But yeah, if you properly calibrate it, mostly using the tuning software and setting your fuel table up, a little on the lean side sometimes for a cruiser. But yeah, you can get more fuel economy. My personal vehicle, it had a Q-Jet on it, small block 350, got 7 miles to the gallon. I changed to another fuel injection system, not ours, but it got worse. But I couldn't do anything with it because the ECU had a lot of problems. And then I switched to the ACES unit, which was more superior in a lot of ways because we paid attention to normal problems and fixed them. But yeah, that unit right now went from 7 miles to the gallon to 5 miles to the gallon, switched to the ACES 4-barrel, which I got 9, and then I went to the 2-barrel, really well adjusted, and averaged between 10 and 12. So yeah, I did manage to have a little bit more torque, very consistent power, very consistent running conditions with a bit more fuel economy, but I did do a proper tune on the thing. So yeah, you can. It's just how you want to do it. And I would recommend if you're looking for fuel economy, learn the laptop tuning software.
Connect Timeout on ACES systems.
I'll let you have the first half of the answer, and then I'll give the rest.
You'll give the more technical answer.
I'll tell you the nerd reason behind it.
Okay, so a lot of times when people experience the Connect Timeout error on their systems, usually if somebody calls in...
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's totally cool. I'm just trying to, talk to the customer.
These people?
Yeah.
Oh, they're cool.
So anyway, when people come into a Connect Timeout error on their system, usually it has to do with wiring on their system. And the reason being, it's either a low voltage situation in which the system does not have enough power to read the system correctly, or it is a high voltage situation and there's been almost like a kickback, a feedback of voltage to the ECU, handheld, or both, where it is now unable to read correctly. Now, depending on what is quote-unquote fried will depend on whether or not your system's still going to run and your car's going to start, and you're just unable to mess with anything on the handheld versus your car won't even start at all.
Yeah. Normally when I see Connect Timeout, it's after somebody has welded on the vehicle. They goes to the exhaust shop, you get it up and running, goes on a trailer, hits the exhaust shop, they weld on it. They never disconnected the battery, their ECU, or anything else. It just smokes some stuff. All that nasty voltage. After a stone-dead battery with a heavy jumper pack, or your charger setting on boost, because the battery absorbs the extra bit. It's just transient voltages that can happen when not handled by the capacitance of the battery that can fly back, like flyback voltage, and hurt the system. That's why you don't connect them to the starter, which I've had that. That's why you don't connect them to the alternator, which I recently had that, because all that stuff is dirty voltage. You got to hit the key on a starter, for instance. It's starting, it's doing a thing. You let off the key, that coil has all the energy from that coil has to go somewhere. It's like 700 volts in an instant. Normally, it travels back and gets absorbed into the battery. That's why we hook things directly to the battery to use the capacitance of the battery. That's true for like any other aftermarket system. Don't even matter if you're using our stuff. Anybody's system, that's going to save it from explosion.
Explosion?
Well, yeah, tiny little explosion. So, like, when we get a Connect Timeout on our stuff, it's not so much like a manufacturing error or anything like that, but, anything manufactured can have a problem. That's just the nature of things. But, it's, hey, it was running fine, and now I have a connection timeout. I was like, well, how do you have it hooked up? Because when that happens, normally we start with, how do you have it hooked up? Because that's such a common thing to have it just hooked to a bus bar with everything else, or something funny. And Sometimes there'll be a sensor failure. Sometimes you'll incidentally touch a wire off somewhere and there'll be a momentary short. That's enough to destroy the CAN bus communication chip inside the handheld, which weirdly enough, when I have that, I usually replace those. When they come in and somebody has a connect timeout, I'll just take it apart, flow the chip right off the thing and put a brand new one on, because that is acting like a fuse to protect the ECU and to protect the handheld in the communication circuit. So very cheap, very easy for me to do. It's about a 10-minute process, but that's I see that chip, that little IC chip, I see it like a fuse, because that's kind of the tattletale of, you smoking something. And, it's a bit of a pain, but it's not too bad. But that's kind of the thing, like, hey, it's had enough bad voltage go through this system somehow that it's killed this one chip.
Yes. Supercharger compatible. Take it away.
Yep. Andrea, you're terrible at handwriting.
It's okay. We love you, Andrea.
Kidding. I love you. Supercharge compatibility. Yes. So that's cool. You got two options when you're throwing the old beans at the pipe there. You could do a draw through or a blow through application. Keep the phrasing supercharge or turbocharge out of your mind piece there. So if you are in a blow through application, you just leave it alone. You install the thing, you put it on. You don't worry about the other stuff. I don't even want to mention it because it confuses people so easily. Yeah. Blow through application is in the configuration. The throttle body is in for a kill shot, royal flush, deuces wild, whatever. It's already ready to go. You just need to get into the tuning software, scale the tables accordingly. It's a good fun time. I enjoy doing it. When you're doing a draw through application, whether it be a turbo draw through like the old Ford 2.3, or it's somebody got a 177 Roots style draw through blower set up on top of small block 350 and some old F body Camaro thing. I don't know. Fox body Camaro. That'll get a few of you. So that is where you need to put the block off plug in the bottom of the throttle body, and then you put the boost reference threaded port in and run it to wherever your setup is making pressure at. If it's a root style blower, it's going to be underneath the blower. If it's a draw through turbocharger, then it's going to be on the pressure side of the whole gig. So that's where you need to use that block off port and the boost reference port on the throttle body. If it's draw through only, do you set it up like that? If it's blow through, you don't need that thing. Leave it alone. But in both cases, you do need the advanced tuning software and the cable. Get in there, hook up to the ECU, go through all the map X point values. Anything with a load value in our charts, you need to scale it accordingly for the appropriate amount of boost.
Modification to the harness. And the thing that I want to just preface is that don't modify your harness. Period. End of story. Don't do it. Don't touch it. Don't. If you have a problem, if there's for some reason that there's a problem with the harness, please just call us. If you think that something's not working, something's not connecting, something's not whatever, don't cut it, break into it, do anything like that, because it will 1000% void your warranty. I've seen some really crazy stuff, and I am only in customer service.
Yeah. So
I know you've seen some weird stuff.
There's only in a few instances that me, being the person that approves or disapproves that kind of stuff, will tell you, do this thing.
Yep.
And if I'm on the phone with you and we're modifying something, that is me accepting that the harness is modified and it's still, in my mind, under a warrantable situation. Because there's a reason it's going to be modified. I can only think of two reasons, but I can't tell you those. But the thing is, some people want to extend certain things.
No.
Not a fan of that because there's the resistance values involved and a bunch of other stuff. If you do elect to do that, that takes your harness off the warranty list at that point. Your throttle body's still good, your handheld, all that jazz. All that stuff is generally still warrantable unless your harness is what's causing the damage. Yeah. Because then you get into some really murky stuff there. Like, I modified my harness and now my handheld goes black. Crap. I mean, what are we going to do about that? It's one of those things. Yeah. Like, you modified your harness and killed it, so now you're going to buy a harness and you're going to have to do a thing. One thing I want to push at some point, whenever the timing is right, is approved extension harnesses that plug in and extend certain things.
Yep.
We already have one for the magnetic distributor.
Yeah. See, and the other thing that I want to just preface is that we actually have one of the longest wiring harnesses in the industry.
Cool.
Like, not that it matters that much, but if I'm not saying that there aren't reasons that you might need a longer wiring harness. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, if you're going to run into a problem with a wiring harness length, usually, and I don't see it very much, and I think the reason is because of our longer wiring harnesses. Even like the CAN connection from the handheld to the wiring harness, I mean, you can bring the handheld from your inside the car, if you have it hooked up from the inside of the car, bring it outside and like have it right next to you while you're working on the engine.
Yeah, usually.
If you want to.
So the modification of the harnesses is some people want to do it because they want to hide the harness. They want to hide it really, really well. And there's just a lot of people that are super equipped to do amazing jobs, and I never hear anything bad out of their system or anything. It's like, hey, I'm having trouble updating this thing. I'm like, let me walk you through that. Let me give you a hand. Hey, can you help me tune this thing? I'm like, yeah, let's dial in. Let's do a thing. Which is it's got another thing coming on that here in a second, but. We have some people that are super well equipped and some people that are confident in their abilities, but they don't really have the ability. And nothing bad against anybody, but I've seen some wiring harnesses come back. Just like if somebody took all the shielding off, cut and spliced a bunch of stuff very poorly, and then tied it in a knot, it comes back. And they were boasting about how good the install was. And I look at it and I'm like, did they do this on purpose?
Yeah.
Because I've had a few people in the past, they'll mess up some real good stuff, and then they'll want all their money back because they can't get it to work, and I get it in, and I'm like, well, no wonder.
Hey, everyone. Thanks again so much for watching this episode of Tech Tuesday. If you liked it, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions about EFI or ACES in general, also feel free to leave a comment down below. If you see Tech Tuesday on other media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, feel free to show it some love as well. And we will be coming back at you again during our next Tech Tuesday episode 13. Isn't like 13 like a lucky number or something like that?
Yeah, that's what my tattoo says.
Oh my gosh.
I got a great idea, Ben. We've been doing these Tech Tuesdays. Sometimes you do with Daniel whenever I'm not around or whatever, and all that whatnot. I understand. It's a polyamorous relationship here. Anyways, I thought about what if, after we get everything calmed down and caught back up after that SEMA thing, what if we have a customer stand in on this thing one day?
Why did you turn and look at me like that?
It's really up to you. This is your gig.
I don't.
I'm
my gig. It's their gig. We do this. Oh my gosh! I can't even believe we went this far without saying it. We do this for what?
For the people.
For the people.
Yeah.
So I guess you're right. Maybe we will.
So, what
Dwayne?
about Dwayne? Maybe. I don't know.
Hey everyone! Thanks again so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.